All right, folks, welcome back into the High School Huddle, bringing you everything and all things Section 5 sports. I'm AJ Feldman. He's Carl Jones, of course, bringing you everything you need to know for Section 5. And sectionals, they're finally here. We've got some brackets coming out for basketball, still to be worked out for the boys' side, possibly by the time you hear this show, but we'll have those for you soon. Hockey have already started in Class A, the first round. The quarterfinals are going to be today on Thursday for Class A and Class B. So things are picking up. All the other sports fresh into action. So it is our busiest time of the season for high school sports. That is for certain. And we're ready for the ride.
Oh, most certainly. The fall sports and their sectionals were electric and they were fun to watch. And I can't wait for winter. And also the weather is heating up outside. So hopefully that correlates to the action going on indoors for the athletes as well, because I'm loving this 40, 50 degree weather.
Yeah, I was going to say that we're coming down a little bit. We're coming down a little bit, but we're going to stay in the 40s, mid 30s, something like that. So our usual weather talk at the beginning of this show, and we always complain about the winter sports. But hey, we think about what we have to deal with in the fall. Cold weather outside in the winter, we're inside in winter sports. So we always got to look at the bright side there, right?
Oh, for sure. No, not too many complaints.
Not too many indeed. So we're going to start our attention with, we were both able to get out, do some stories this week, get to some high quality girls basketball teams, do some features on that. Carl, we're going to start off with you first, talking about the East Rochester Bombers, who unfortunately you jinxed in a major big time way there.
Yeah. I guess I am the reason why. But going into this week, they were riding a 26-game winning streak dating back to last year. They won their sectional championship last year. And through you and Thad, I was told that this is a really good team led by Sam Lewis, and that they have been doing their thing of late. And being able to meet the ladies and the coach up close and personal and get to know them a little bit better. I learned a lot about them. I think the one thing that stood out is the fact that they're, young to be a team of this caliber. If you're usually a team that's like running through their schedule, senior lad in, maybe some junior sprinkled in. Sam Lewis is the only senior on the team. You got Anaya Eldridge, who's an 8th grader. Her older sister, Zariah, is a sophomore. Lily Funk is a junior. They have another junior that starts. This is a young team that has gelled and has come together over the past couple of years. And then another thing that stood out to me is the fact that they take pride in being a small school. Like that was like their theme of the entire interview. They want to be the first to bring a banner back to East Rochester for the basketball program, girl or boys. It was a fun interview. Obviously, Sam Lewis is a stud in whatever sport that she plays, and it's fun to watch her for the second time. I think you saw them earlier this year, but it's an all in all fun team. I can't wait to see how far they go. Although they did slip up, they won't play that team in sectionals, and maybe after that. But man, they're an exciting, fun team, and they're legit. They're not like a small school team that they're just running through their competition because they maybe have one star. They have a legit strong 5, and they're exciting to watch. And I can't wait to see how they do in sectionals.
Yeah, Sam Lewis, pound for pound, perhaps the best athlete in Section 5. There's certainly a couple names who can make that case, but just doing what she does in indoor track and in the field hockey season, and track in the springtime, she just really brings it all around. And you mentioned that strong team, that young team. To have a leader like that, a player like that, to be that rock on the inside, that makes up for a lot of those deficiencies for the youth. I believe last year was their first sectional title in quite some time. I don't know if maybe you remember this, but yeah, just another team that did not get a chance to win that state title, and potentially going to get that chance to go on that deep run this time around.
Of course, and another thing that Sam Lewis, all the other players I interviewed and the coach as well, she just reiterated the what if factor, talking about how far could they have went last year, and she said that's fueled them into this season. They didn't have a chance to go play for a state championship last year, so they're taking that energy into this year and hopefully go as far as they possibly can.
Yeah, that definitely one of the teams to watch. One of the teams we've always had an eye on in the past. Moving over to my team that I got out to talk to is another team with one loss on the season. Theirs came much earlier in the season. I did not jinx them at all. It was the Canandaigua Braves girls basketball team. They are riding an 18-game winning streak. They are top 5 in the state, number 4 in the state. Their only loss of the season, way back in game number 2 of the season, to our beloved Waterloo Indians. They took a tough loss there. But Canandaigua, you look at them, and one thing that stands out as immediately is the amount of points that they give up, and it is not a lot. They give up less than 30 points per game. It's like 28 point something points per game. They have only allowed 3 teams to score 40 or more on them all season long. The most points they've given up in the game is 43, which is pretty ridiculous to say. And that was to Fairport, which we know how much they can put up on any given night. That was in the first game of the season. You know, they've beaten Sutherland. They've beaten Schrader. They beat them by 11 earlier this season. They are just a good, quality, well-rounded basketball team. They have a few key players leading the way for them, starting with Maya Herman, the junior. She's doing it all for them. She's averaging, it is 14.5 points per game this season. You've also got Macy Bacon, who's doing good for work for them at just over 10. And then their senior leader. This is another team that only has 1 senior on their roster. It's Abby Herod. She's getting it done as well. So another team that might be making a run next year as well. But, you know, Canandaigua, they definitely be getting a lot more recognition, a little more pub. If it wasn't for that team about 25 minutes down the road in Mendon, staring them in that bracket, you know, we've talked a lot about Mendon for obvious good reasons. Canandaigua has never played Mendon. Any of these players on the roster have not played Mendon at the varsity level. They have not met up in the regular season ever. They have not met in the sectional playoffs. Canandaigua's come close. They've had a lot of tough losses in the sectional semis. They've never met them in a sectional championship game. So they are on a collision course there. And it is just going to be really fun to see if they can get there. And, you know, it's probably the best chance for anybody's got to knock down Mendon. So it'll be fun to see if they can get there.
100%. I know we talked about it earlier this week about the fact that we haven't been able to catch them a lot due to their location and the schedules. But a question that I have for you, at the high school level, it's hard to get an entire team to just buy in on defense, especially at the high school level. You know, so what was the vibe and what were like their answers like talking about how great they are defensively? Because to get a bunch of 16 to 18-year-olds to buy in on that floor, end of the floor, night in and night out, is unheard of. I know what I was doing at 16. I wasn't caring about like that end of the floor where I don't get in the newspaper. Like, you don't get a newspaper for holding your man to 5 points. So
yeah,
what was that about?
Yeah, you know, that was the main thing I wanted to find out too. And you know, I asked him, like, you know, how much time do you guys spend in defense on practice? And the answer to both players I interviewed, Maya and Abby, was it was a lot. You know, like it was Maya gave me the best answer. She's like, you know, it's a lot. You know, we sometimes spend half of our practice working on defense. I swear. And she gave me the biggest eye roll. The biggest eye roll possible. It was like typical, you know, like you said, 16 or 17-year-old talking about defense. It was just classic. I had to use it in the story. But then, you know, we gave her time to shine. She went on to say, she's like, yeah, you know, all this practice time we spent on defense, yeah, it really sucks. But, you know, we get in the game and we're like, dang, you know, it's kind of a good thing that we did this. So they know that their coach is cooking up something good for them. You know, they've talked about, especially early in the season when you're working a lot of that fundamentals, you know, the defensive slide drills just over and over and over again. I know you're shaking your head. If I wasn't telling the story, I would be as well. Those defensive slide drills are just literally a pain in the butt. The worst possible thing you got. So yeah, they buy in, but not without some, you know, they buy in as much as they need to. They know that it sucks to be doing what they're doing, but they know it pays off.
Hey, it's paying off, and their coach is obviously doing a great job. So no complaints on that end.
Yeah, you know, they also, you know, I had them like I was like, hey, I need a drill with some defense to shoot it for practice. You know, they've got the crazy, you know, talking, you know, the help the ball, you know, things like that. They work that all the time. And they talk about how that just helps out their offense, just going against that defense in practice every day. You can obviously understand that. And then just going back to talking about Mendon, you know, they mentioned that, you know, they're not really focused on them too much. You know, the players gave me a little better answers on that. The coach is like, you know, one game at a time, because there are some decent teams in Class A who by no means are going to let Canandaigua go into the finals against them. But the coach, head coach did mention, Mike Brennan, he did mention that, the fact that all of these players on their rosters play different sports for the most part. They've got some talented lacrosse players. They play in the fall sports as well. They're used to playing a lot of these big games. They're not going to be shying away from the moment. They're well-rounded. They know how to live up to these big time moments. And I think that'll also play a big factor. And if they can give Menon a pretty good run here.
Like you said, there's some heavy hitters in Class A, and if that's what the collision course will be, then so be it. But I'm sure there's some other teams in that division, that class, that has some things to say as well. So it'll shape up to be a fun sectional for sure.
Definitely. And moving over to our teams of the week, Carl's was already kind of mentioned in the crossfire for taking down his East Rochester there. Carl, who's your team of the week there?
And then when you take down the second-ranked team at Class C and the team that I was covering, you're going to be my team of the week. The Lyons. The ladies, I've never seen a game where a team is just shooting the lights out and literally from every way, shape, or form. I'm talking about running mid-ranges, talking like corner threes, can't see the hoop. I'm talking like layups that like going high off the glass. I mean, they played an outstanding game, and it all goes back to their star player, Jayla Bell. She's only a freshman and it's her third year playing varsity, which is still unheard of for me, being from Ohio, where your first year on varsity is a freshman. So the fact that she's this dominant as a freshman and it's her third year playing varsity, the sky is the limit for her. But it wasn't just her in that game. I mean, you had Imani Harder with 17, Cameron Bromell with 16, Michaela Chase with 12, and then Sierra Harrison with 9. 2 out of those 5 players I just named were 8th graders. So like this team is absurdly young. They didn't shy of the moment at all. They walked right into East Rochester. The coach, Marty Colgrove, was like the entire second quarter was all like, oh, they didn't expect us to be here. Well, we're here. So listen, I'm like, okay. I'm loving the energy. I'm loving the vibe. And I mean, they fed off of his energy. They didn't fear East Rochester whatsoever. They had lost to them earlier in the season, 71-60. So clearly they had a motivation for revenge. But man, they're 14-6 right now. They're in C2, so they won't meet up with East Rochester, who's in C1. And that's a team who is shooting the lights out, and Jayla Bell is about as good as it gets at the high school level, especially as a freshman. I know we had talked about her a lot on Section 5 Best, but we haven't been able to see her because of where they're located. But man, she is everything as advertised. I won't be surprised to see if she can go on a mini run in C2 to see what she can do, because that's what great players do. But man, she box office. That's all I can say.
Yeah, you mentioned the way they shot. 85 points they put up in that game. Like, come on. I mean, and that's the most points they've scored all season long. And as we clearly just talked about, East Rochester is no slouch. That's for sure. So, man, you have that as your ceiling. This, like you said, the sky is the limit for them. Taking a look at that C2 bracket, they really, some quality teams as well. Pavilion at 16-2, Clyde Savannah at 17-2. Oakfield, Alabama at 17-3. Lyons is going to be the 5th seed in that bracket. But you take a look at their, obviously some talented teams in C2, but not even any to the quality of, an East Rochester or something like that. So that is an open section for sure. And, any of those teams, I would not be surprised if they took it. And certainly Lyons can go on that type of run.
Oh, yeah. And we talked about this in football when it comes to star players, and I'm sure we'll talk about it ad nauseum next week when we really dive into sectionals. But this time of year, your star players are going to take you as far as you can, and I don't imagine there'll be many teams that they go against that have anybody as good as Jayla Bell. So we'll see about the Lyons going forward.
Yeah, and if, at the very least, a very good primer for a future run for the young talented Lyons. My team of the week, it's another team that we've talked about, but really we kind of set them up we kind of challenged them a little bit last week, and they certainly lived up for the test. I've got the East Eagles as my team of the week for boys basketball. They had a really nice win over McQuaid. They beat them 95-79. That was Friday night. And then just 2 days ago on Tuesday night, they beat Edison Tech 76-74, completing the season sweep over a really talented Edison Tech team that I was actually able to go out and talk to. So you're going to be hearing that story next week. That is a really good team as well. But East, everything that I said that they had problems with in that first McQuaid game, they fixed this time around. They were confident with the basketball. They weren't turning the ball over. They were really diverse in their attack. In that game, Shamir Carruthers had 25 points. Damani Barley, as we all know, had 24. Ty McCullough had 16. And then this kid, Zion Parsons, 18 points and 13 rebounds. He's just an eighth grader. And the kid does not look like an eighth grader. Like we've seen, eighth graders make their mark. It's usually like, the 5'2" little tiny scrawny kid who just jacks up threes and runs around screen, and does things of that nature. Like Zion Parsons is a dude. He's going to be really good. And the thing that impressed me the most, anybody who's been to a McQuaid game, their student section is one of the most energetic in Section 5. They like to get on the opposing team. They like to make their voices heard. It's a small gym, so that helps as well. This late third quarter, East is going on around. Zion Parsons hits a three in the corner. He's on the far side, same size as McQuaid. As he's walking back, he's giving McQuaid some smack talk. He's giving the student section. He's letting them know, hey, I just hit that in your dude's face. Watch out for me as an eighth grader. So that just tells me so much. It's one thing to stare down, the guy next to you, but still, like you're going into a hostile environment and you're elevating your game instead of just merely playing up to it. That says a lot about an eighth grader in Zion Parsons. He really impressed me, that's for sure.
Oh, I mean, you know how I am when it comes to like the guys and girls who provide energy out there and aren't afraid to talk a little bit. You're doing that on the road as an eighth grader. That just bodes well for playoff atmosphere where you can't really tense up and maybe leave some shots short. I'm just leaving it all out there. And as an eighth grader, having that confidence in yourself, that swagger, that's infectious. And I mean, as an eighth grader, if that can correlate to the rest of the team, and obviously, I mean, Damani Barley, whatever they go as he goes, but man, I know in eighth grade, I wasn't talking like that. I mean, the older I got, when you get more confidence, more repetitions and stuff like that, but on the road, hostile environment, bunch of kids I haven't talked to, never met before, like to hear that.
Yeah, and in that Edison Tech game, they were down in that one, 56-48 late in the third quarter, able to pull out a win by 2 points. They are winning the close games. They beat a quality Niagara Falls team 63-62. They did suffer a loss to Fairport, which we used to highlight how good Fairport's playing. But East, we had some doubts for them, but they did a really good job of, Shamir Carruthers looked a lot stronger than I saw him the first time around. Kai McCullough as well. In that first McQuaid game, it really just seems like it was going to be the Damani Barley show where, he's got to have the ball and other guys can still do stuff when, he gets the double team, when he drives and dishes, things like that. But in that East game, I really saw other players take control and become that secondary, third option, fourth option that they're going to need if they're going to make this deep playoff run. And just looking ahead to sectionals, they're going to probably stare down a really good East Ridge team in the A2 championship game. That's going to be a really fun game to watch. And then after that, it's probably going to be Pittsford Mendon to go on to the state qualifier for either East or East Ridge. So I'm really going to look forward to see how that bracket stands out. Probably, the best 1-2 punch, certainly that we can throw at you in Section 5.
I've just seen East Ridge go down to HFL and pull off one of the best comeback victories I think I've seen this year. So obviously they're no slouch, legit team, and East is the same. So like you said, can't wait to see, I guess, next weekend if those two end up matching up.
Yep. Moving on to our teams that are under the radar, teams that deserve a little bit more pub. It's getting time to start talking about, some underdogs, some sleepers, some Cinderellas as you're making your class or your Section 5 brackets. Carl, who might be possessing the glass slipper for you this winter?
For me, this time of year is all about guard play. You go as your guards can go. And Cal Mac in Class B1, they have some of the best guards around with the Goodness brothers, Paul and Ian. They won 11 out of their last 12 to end the year. They started the season 2-5. And I mean, at that point, I imagine that many people will write them off. But they've won 11 out of their last 12, with their only loss being the North Star. They have lost to North Star twice this season, both by double digits. But the rest of their schedule this year, they lost to a really good Lions team, as you saw last week, or maybe the week before that. They lost to Newark, but they end up avenging that loss later this season. So they clearly have the potential to play up to par. They're clicking on all cylinders right now, and I mean, it's a survive and advance, one and done type of tournament. So as long as you can get Ian and Paul on a good day, it'll be great to see. I saw them play at Wayne. I want to say mid-January, early January, where Paul, hit the game-winning three. So clearly they're not afraid of the moment. They relish those type of shots, and Wayne is a very good team in Class A, I want to say. So or A2, I want to say. But yeah, Pal Mac is a team that I have my eye on. Those Goodness brothers, I talked to Paul Gotham about them when I was at the game, and he said that he loves watching them play. They're an energetic group, and obviously there's other players on that team that make them go, but those two in particular, they'll be able to dictate how far they can go in the sectionals.
Yeah, and you talk about North Star, who beat him twice and is the top dog in B1. Ryan Garwood, he is a stud, but if you can that's going to be problem A, B, and C for Palmac and any team that plays them in sectionals. So if they can get a good game plan on him, if they can throw a lot of bodies on him, if they can make him uncomfortable, who knows? Maybe they're the team that can pull off that upset against North Star. And they just did lose to a Wheatland Chi-Li team who is by no means is good in Class D. North Star did lose to them, but not a superstar team by any stretch of the imagination. So North Star definitely is beatable. That's for sure.
It's one game. That's all you need. Just need to get hot for one game. We just saw Lions do it with East Rochester. So anything is possible this time of year.
Exactly. And for my under the radar team, got to kind of call it under the radar because this team is the number one seed in Class B2. It is the Dansville Mustangs. Able to see them last night against Geneseo. They came out with the win 44-35. That was a battle of teams that entered that game at 15-4. Dansville coming out with the win. This game, I got here at halftime. It was tied at 22 at the half. Found out after the fact it was also tied at 11 after the first quarter. It was really tight. Dansville pitched a shutout in the third quarter. They did not allow Geneseo to put up a point in the third quarter.
You talking about hockey?
Nah, basketball. Big donut for the Geneseo Blue Devils. They made Geneseo so uncomfortable in that second half. Geneseo's a strong team. From just watching one half of basketball on them, they don't seem to possess a ton of great outside shooters. So that could, if some team could shoot on Dansville, that's for sure. But Dansville was just smothering. They were playing good help defense, great rotations. They were never allowing an open shot. It was always, tough to get a decent look on them. They were forcing turnovers. And that was just as impressive as a defensive performance as I've seen all season long. Leading the way for them on offense was Drew Moore with 18 points. He's a really tough inside threat. He's got some moves. He can absorb contact. He can put it up. He can work into the paint. He's not an overwhelming presence down low where it's just, he's physically dominant down there, but he's got the touch. He's got the finesse. He's got, ability to, get a couple dribbles and get a shot off. He impressed me in that game so far on this season. He's a senior, a 4-year varsity player. He's averaging over 20 points a game this season, 21.5. He's also got, doing the quick math on here on this rebounds, he's also averaging 12.6 rebounds per game. So he's a double-double, walking 20-10 out there. Other guys for the Dansville Mustangs, Colin Gray, he was hitting some big three-pointers. He's averaging just over 10 points on this season. Jacob Smith, just under 10 points per game this season. So that's a Dansville team that really passed their final test of the regular season, which was a really good one. They're entering the playoffs on a 5-game winning streak. And as I mentioned, they are the number one seed in Class B2. They have not played any of there are 4 teams above 500 in B2. Dansville has not played any of them. So we don't have really a one-for-one comparison, but the Mustangs really impressed me last night.
You just said a hockey stat for me about not getting the ball period. So I'm already locked in. I'm impressed with this team. I haven't seen them this year, but that right there goes to show you that they're legit. I don't care who you're playing against, what level of competition. 0 points over an 8-minute period is nuts and legit. So that's wild. Under the radar for sure. They need some more pub.
Yeah, Leroy is the number 2 seed in that bracket. Another strong team that we've gotten a chance to see. Merritt Holly Jr., Mitchell Hockey. So that's going to be a fun matchup if we get that in the sectional championship game. That's going to be a really fun, underrated B2 game if that does turn out to be at the Big House. So for games of the week, we do have some sectional brackets out. The boys are going to be released a little bit later, possibly out by the time you hear this show. We do have some brackets out for Class C, or for girls basketball. So Carl, taking a look at the first round matchups in these girls basketball matchups, what is kind of a juicy matchup that you've got your eyes on, maybe that can really be interesting in a first round game?
For me, it's a team. It's two teams I saw just once this year. It's going to be the 6-11 matchup with HFL going against Churchville Chi-Li, who we talked about, I believe, last week on the high school huddle. There's two teams that are led by two girls who are really, really, really good. Tegan Cam for HFL. She's a double machine. I swear, every single night that I'm going across the stats and all that, she is always have 16 and 11.
I think she literally might have a double in just about every game this season. I remember looking at like she had like 14 and 15 games, something like that.
Oh yeah, I believe that she has 1,000 boards and 1,000 points for her career, or she was approaching that. I want to say, which is unheard of. It's absurd. So clearly she's really, really good. And also Sydney Postel for Churchville Chi-Li is really good as well. I saw her take on Brockport earlier this year, and you talked about them a little bit last week. Two good teams, obviously two teams with a lot of really, really good head honchos. They're going to clearly match up with each other because they both like to operate with in the paint a little bit in the interior. So we'll get to see which star can shine brighter. HFL is 14-5, Churchville Chi-Li is 8-12, but with that 8-12 record, they have some really impressive wins like over Brockport. So don't let the record deceive you. Can't wait to see how that one shakes out next Tuesday, February 22nd.
Yeah, I was able to, I highlighted Churchville Chi as one of my under the radar team. They did, they lived up to the hype in their first game. They beat Irondequoit on a buzzer beater. It was Sydney Postel with the game-winning three from just inside half court, I believe. So that is definitely a team that get feisty. Definitely a good one to watch in that Class A bracket. I'm going to also look at the Class A bracket for my game to watch. I'm going to go with Webster Thomas, and they have Brockport in the first round. Webster Thomas, we've both seen them a little bit. Carl just saw them take down a Brighton team that was celebrating, Brighton's all-time leading scorer happened that game. They spoiled that party.
Yeah. They're legit. Like I had seen them previously, and I was like, they have some kinks in the armor, this, that, and the third, but they didn't really care about none of that.
Yeah, Kiara Anglin getting the record there for Brighton. They did not care about that. Webster Thomas, we mentioned, last week Churchville Chi, we were like, Thomas is beatable. Maybe if Churchville Chi can get on a roll. They didn't let him do that. They swept Churchville Chi. They beat him three times by 3 points on the road, and crushed them in their regular season finale. They beat them by 25 at their own gym. So this is a Webster Thomas team. They do have some, they've played some close games with these tight teams. They had a 2-point loss to settle in earlier this season. I mentioned that the Brighton win, that was a pretty quality one. And then Brockport, as you mentioned before, that's a well-ranked team, but not undefeated by any stretch of the imagination. They lost to Churchville Chi. They, comparing to what Thomas did to Sutherland, they lost 20 by Sutherland earlier this season. So Webster Thomas, Maddie Keller, she's might be averaging the quietest 17.5 points per game in the Section 5 schedule. So another matchup where there's probably going to be an upset in this Class A bracket. There's just a lot of quality teams from top to bottom. It's just going to be interesting to see where that upset ends up happening.
Oh yeah, we've covered, I think, ad nauseum the AA and A brackets for the girls, and a lot. And obviously they have really good teams at the top with Menden and Kearney and Fairport and the respective brackets. But I've seen crazy things happen just this year. So when you get in the one and done format, we'll see.
You never know what happens. We are, we're not one, but we are done for the day here on the High School Huddle. We will be back next week as we have all the brackets filled out. They'll be underway for a little bit. We're going to really dive into these brackets. Hockey as well. Tough for us to talk too much hockey because as we're recording this on Thursday, in just about a couple hours, a lot of these teams are going to be in action. So we don't want to, we don't want to jinx another team. We've already done enough jinxing for this week. So we'll also talk a little bit of hockey next week as we gear up for the, I believe they will be into the championship games, or maybe it'll be semifinals day. So we want to be able to get to talk about them again. But either way, we've got a lot of great stuff coming for you on rochesterfirst.com and Newsade. We're going to talk some wrestling. We've got some bowling sectionals this week. We always love getting out to the lanes. All sports. We've got it covered for you here on the High School Huddle.
Yeah, I mean, I just covered some swimming, wrestling before that, the bowlers. Let me see what y'all got. Any 300s for me out there? We'll see. Can't wait to see y'all shine. Finish y'all sectionals.
Exactly. It is time to break the huddle. For Carl Jones, I am AJ Feldman. We will see you next week with more Section 5 action. Thanks for listening, and have a great time watching all this great playoff basketball.